This is Alexandra Levine live with The Pulse. I hope everyone had a safe Memorial Day weekend. I spent my Memorial Day weekend honoring my grandfather, who served in World War II in the Philippines for 5 years in the Air Corps and is honored at the Jewish War Veterans in D.C. While people from the Trump administration went to Arlington National Cemetery and Israel to memorialize 2 innocent Americans that died last week, we had some Democrat elected officials that felt the need to honor Memorial Day by combating ICE agents and flying to El Salvador for a, quote, wellness visit to go visit an illegal MS-13 gang member. What a way to spend the holiday, huh? It's such a funny and interesting contrast of the right and left's perspective on Memorial Day. It just goes to show you whose priorities are more important. Of course, the mainstream media can't get enough of watching replay after replay of Macron's wife shoving her husband in the face on the airplane. Keep in mind, the Macrons are not American. And watching Congressman Glenn Ivey of Maryland cry to the media that he wasn't allowed to see Kilmer Garcia because he forgot to get a permit. This was Memorial Day in America, everyone. So I posed the question, why was the mainstream media so fixated on covering stories that had nothing to do with our country, our troops, our veterans, or the real patriotism that President Trump and his administration have shown? Was it not sexy to them? I guess they would have preferred to see what James Comey was doing this weekend. Did he take another walk on the beach? See that image? Well, whether it's a man looking for seashells with the rating 8647 or watching elected officials push and shove ICE agents, the mainstream media knows what we the people want to see and hear, right? Not. The important story tonight is the auto pen. President Trump has tweeted and truthed about it, but God forbid the mainstream media would cover the story, get to the bottom of it. The fact that Joe Biden's pardons were illegitimate is an even bigger story. But how about the fact that we didn't have a president for 4 years? We had a vegetable, a scarecrow. I mean, Mr. Potato Head had more personality than Joe Biden. The cover by the mainstream media, the Biden crime family, and the Biden administration is disturbing and sick. Every one of them should be held accountable, including other presidents that were involved, as President Trump has stated. Thank the Lord, President Trump is back in the White House, and we have competent people that give a damn about our country. As I watched my good friend Judge Jeanine Pirro today get sworn in as the new interim U.S. Attorney for D.C., I felt every word she said, and I know she means it. Law and order is about to come back to this country, and once and for all, the real criminals are going to be held accountable. Now, do you guys feel your pulse racing? I know I do. It's about to get a little hot in here for what we have in store for you all tonight. Let's introduce to you our other host and guest for the evening. Our first host. This guy says he likes the Jersey Shore, but I'm not sure. Host of the Jersey Shore, Damon Galdo. Let's bring him up.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
And I'm always sure.
Well, this guy has had more surgeries than Kim Kardashian. Our Popeye the Sailor Man, host of the Conservative Corner, Seth Eisenberg.
Hey,
Woo!
I've had a few surgeries. I've had a few.
Now, this woman still isn't sure if she likes oranges or bananas. Our fruit liaison, Elena Barbara from the Base Mother. Woo!
Hello.
And our special guest tonight, Academy Award winner for his role in the movie Gladiator, TimFazenbaker. Oh my God, no, I mean Russell Crowe's doppelganger, our very own TimFazenbaker. Woo! Well, thanks guys for coming on tonight. We're gonna get into our top story. All 5 of us need to come on right now. Thanks, Damon. Yep, all 5. Woo! There we go. So our top story tonight, Damon Sherrod, you're gonna put up the first slide of what we're gonna talk about tonight. There we go. Breaking. Undercover meeting with DNC leader David Hogg reveals who really ran the Biden White House. Quote, he wielded an enormous amount of power. I can't stress to you enough how much power he had at the White House. It was an open secret. I would avoid him. He was scary. Project Veritas reveals that it was Jill Biden's chief of staff that ran the White House. Let's play the clip.
Joe Biden?
Jill Biden's chief of staff. That was like an open secret at the left. Like, I would avoid him. Like, he was scary.
What was his name?
Anthony Trump.
I've never seen him.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
He's like a shadowy, like, Wizard of Oz type figure. That's what made him so, like, I knew how he looked, but I'm like, the general public wouldn't know how this man looked. But he wielded an enormous amount of power, and I can't stress to you how much power he had in the White House.
So there's the reveal, guys. As I said, Project Veritas reveals that Jill Biden's chief of staff, this guy Anthony Burnell, ran the White House. My first question goes to you, Elena. I want you to lead us with this story. What do you think about this?
I'm enjoying every second of it. Okay, if my country has to be destroyed, I at least want to know who's been behind it. And the fact that we're actually getting this information in the public from Veritas and from another source I'll tell you about in a second is fascinating, because if we know anything, the White House knows everything. Like the new White House. There's no way they would have let any information out outside of this Veritas amazing interview that they did with Hogg and this other Jones kid. So the Department of Justice pardon attorney Ed Martin, who's the new new guy in that role, last week he let out 4 names that they called or 5 names, excuse me, that they called Biden's gatekeepers. And presumably, if they weren't the auto pen signers and they weren't running things, they know who they were involved. There's no way that they could have been the gatekeepers to Biden without being involved. So that was 5. This is now 6 with this Bernal guy, right? So those just real quick were Ron Klain, Steve Ricchetti, Anita Dunn, and Bob Bauer. And the 5th one was Jill Biden. So these people have been running the country. They know exactly what's going on. They know Biden was incapacitated, and I am here for it. I cannot wait to see what happens next.
Well, Damon, let me turn this to you, because David Sachs actually said that Pocahontas was in charge of the auto pen. What do you think?
Oh, one of my favorites, Pocahontas. I talk about her enough. But no, I mean, I'm glad it's coming out. I mean, I'm happy that it is. I can't wait for this wave to just hurl and collapse on top of the Democrats. I really can't. But the thing is, we have to keep talking about it, because if we don't, then they're going to sweep it under the rug and it's going to go away. And that's what they tend to do. And so, I mean, I don't care. We started hashtag we want to know and just let it trend. Whatever it might be, just keep talking about it until we get all the information, because this is, like I said before in my last monologue, I mean, it's treason to the highest order. That's what it is. Because, I would say we as a country, not me or any of you, elected Joe Biden as president. So he wasn't running the country. Somebody else was, an unelected official. And I watched the Doge hearings today, talking about Doge and Elon Musk, and they said, an unelected official that's looking into our stuff. Well, you know what? I mean, he used to own PayPal. I mean, and I'm sure he has your banking information as it is. And plus he doesn't need it. He has the biggest bank account in the world. So they want to complain about that. But yet we had people that were unelected that we don't even know their names or know where they are or who they are running the country for us. And they need to be held accountable, and they need to go to jail for it.
Now, Tim, can you believe that the DNC revealed this to, I guess, someone that they thought was someone like them, maybe another DNC person at this luncheon? What say you about this?
It made me think, did David Hogg get pushed out because he's pushing the establishment Democrats, or did he get pushed out because they knew this video was out there? I have to say, though, every time I see David Hogg, I just think of Soy Boy, and his arms are so scrawny, and I want to call him David Sausage Links instead of Hogg. But I admire his persistence on things and his challenge against the establishment. And I kind of think he told pretty much what we didn't know. Nobody knew who this guy was, but I'm sure that person is known in those circles and is causing this. Now, I'll take one different stance on this, though. I do think it's extremely important for us to know this, but I think if the Republicans, who we don't have much trust in as well, if they continue to just use this as the issue for months and months and months, instead of, say, the economy, it's going to fall. So, yeah, it's important to know this, but this cannot be the issue that we run on in the future, because it just won't work. You might lose some Democrats because of this whole situation, but the economy, I think, has to be the main thing moving forward. And, we all knew that Biden wasn't even capable of making many decisions. He even admitted it. I'm not allowed to call on you. I got to call on this person. So I don't know much about this guy, but I think we're going to find out in the near future exactly who he was and how much power and control he did have.
Now, Seth, the President Trump has mentioned that it could have been other presidents involved with the auto pen, aka Barack Hussein Obama. If it turns out that Barack Hussein Obama was Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett and other people that were in his house with him, if it turns out that they were involved, what say you? What should happen in your opinion?
Well, it's a crime. I mean, nothing else is wrong. So they should go to jail. But let's be honest, nobody's going to jail. Nobody's going to get punished. They're going to have some hearings. They're going to scream and yell like they always do. And that's it. End of it. In general, so don't send me nasty emails when I say we. I mean, in general, we all have a very short attention span. This will pass. Something else will happen. Something shiny will happen in the corner. We'll go, ooh, look, a squirrel. And we'll forget all about this and we'll be focusing on that. And then something else will happen and we'll jump from subject to subject. Nothing happens in D.C. They know that. Politicians aren't as stupid as they look. They realize they make a big enough show quick enough, everybody will think, oh, it's being handled. I'm not worried about it anymore. I'm going to move on. It's like P.T. Barnum said, there's one born every minute. It's that simple. They just got to make it loud enough, flashy enough, long enough to captivate people, and then they'll assume it's been handled and they'll move on. They all should go to jail. There's not a politician in D.C. that shouldn't do jail time. They're all crooked. There's not an honest one among them, because when you run for office, you got to take money from people. And some of these people you take money from, you don't agree with, but you end up owing them because they've given you money. I couldn't run for president if I wanted to. I don't have the money, so I'd have to take it from people I don't like. And then in the end, I owe them. So what the Democrats do is no longer surprising to me. They're all shit stains.
But Seth, let me follow up with you a little bit, because as you know, Judge Jeanine Pirro is the new U.S. interim attorney for D.C. She said today, I'm going to, prosecute people to the fullest extent of the law. I know Judge Jeanine Pirro personally. She's a tough cookie. She will prosecute people. I mean, she's not going to let these people fly. So now that we have Judge Jeanine, do you see maybe there could be some type of a difference happening in D.C., in your opinion?
I wish there would be, but she's one person against an establishment that's been around for centuries. She's going to be punching a wall. She might make a chip here or there, put a crack in it every once in a while, but at the end of the day, the establishment's going to win. If it wasn't strong enough to sustain against her, it would have collapsed years ago. The only way any of this changes is if we get fed up enough and we make a change. It's like if you're, and I'm going to age myself here, your DVD player doesn't work anymore. It's busted. It's broken. It's not working. Do you go buy more DVDs and stick it in there thinking, hey, it might work now? No, you get rid of the damn DVD machine. You buy a new one because then you know it works. Same thing with the government. We can't keep playing a game knowing it's crooked and then expecting it to change because now we're playing it in a different way. We need to change it. They work for us, and I say that all the time. They work for us at our pleasure. We've forgotten that. They're not the rock stars and the gods that they think they are, making millions of dollars. We need to go, hey, enough's enough. You're done. And however that has to take place is how it has to take place.
Well, Elena, I want to pivot back to you because, you were going to mention, Ed Martin, you were going to mention the attorney. So go into that about that story with Ed Martin, with the attorney.
Well, I did. I mean, with those names that he released, but it's all tied in together with what Seth said. So Seth, I agree with you halfway. The people need to get more involved. Like we need to clean house in Congress and get new people in there. That game, I don't think is going to change though anytime soon. I do think that this is going to be different. And I don't think this is going to be just a shiny ball that goes away next week. And the reason is an entire election was stolen and Donald Trump has been talking about it for 4 years. This is massive. It was stolen by these people. They tried to kill him twice. I mean, they bugged his home in Trump Tower, or his offices in Trump Tower. They have been coming after him so hard that he has had it with the corruption in this country. So I do think things are going to be different this time with this particular story, and time will tell which one of us is right. And I don't think that the people are really ready to rise up. It's not bad enough yet, unfortunately. So we're relying on the executive branch to save us. And it is a long shot, but I actually believe that because of how egregious their crimes are, that something's going to change and it's going to happen. As far as Ed Martin coming in, I think that Trump was involved in the decision to release the names of the people who are in Biden's inner circle. because I don't think Ed Martin, being a new guy there, would have just, gone rogue and said, oh, I'm going to blow the lid off of this by myself. I think there was a meeting and a very deliberate, attempt to wake the American people up. And I'm so glad we're talking about it tonight, because we have to let people know exactly how sick and twisted and deep this is. And God bless the O'Keefes and their nerve for what they do with their, with letting this news story out. And I feel bad for David Hogg, and there may not be any sympathy in this room besides my own, but I think he's a young kid. He's like 22, 23 years old. He's dumb as bricks. He has been used and led along this primrose path, and now he's being kicked to the curb, and he is clearly too dumb to understand that you don't talk about inside stuff like that with somebody you barely know, that they might have a hidden camera. I mean, he's just a poor little lemming at this point. I still think he's a schmuck, but like, I do feel sorry for him. Like, those two feelings can exist at once.
I'm sorry, I don't. I know, Seth, you want to say something.
No, final thoughts, then we have to go to the next topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I don't feel sorry for him at all. I mean, the way I see it, Democrats broke this glass and it can't be unbroken at this point. With the election being stolen, with everything else, and Joe Biden with the auto pen and someone else running the country, I'm sorry, they need to be held accountable. And the good thing is, if you have Judge Jeanine Pirro behind it, she's a woman, and women do not forget. They hold grudges forever. So I'm hoping she does her job. I'll just ask my wife. She's upstairs. I'll call her down. But yeah. So Seth, if you want to just close it real quick, I know you had something you want to say.
No, I agree with Elena, but my point is 4 years. We got 4 years. After that, it's going to go back to what it was before. So whatever we do in this 4 years is going to be erased in the next 4 years. So everything is temporary until we, the people, decide to make it permanent. That's just how it's going to be.
I got to say, with David Bacon arms still, he's 25. So, yeah, he's still young, but he's old compared for Leonardo DiCaprio. But I mean, I think we're all hitting on the same thing. We want this to happen.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have trust in the establishment, the uniparty, which is a lot of the Republican Party as well, to actually do something. If any president were going to get this done, it would be Trump. But I don't know if there's the will of the people out there that will actually step up and force this to happen. All of us will, but is it enough? I don't know. I hope that I'm wrong. I just don't think this will be the issue that really sends that party, the Democrats, into oblivion. I still think the Republicans will try to run on it, showboat, have hearings, and nothing will ever come out of it. And if we do that, we'll just lose again, lose in the midterms because of stuff like this.
All right. Well, guys, we have to actually, because of time, we have to go straight to segment 2 now. So segment 2, of course, this is near and dear to my heart. This is near and dear to a lot of people, all over the country, of course. And it's just, it's interesting how the timing happened. So we ended our show last week at 9, and then between 9:05 and 9:15 p.m. last week, 2 innocent people were murdered on the outsides of the Capitol Jewish Museum. Their names were Yaron Lishinsky, 30 years old male, and Sarah Milgram, 26 years old female. We will remember them forever. They were a young couple. They were about to get married. The guy was actually going to propose to her in Jerusalem, Israel, and have their wedding in Israel. So they were about to start their lives together. Their parents were looking forward to planning their wedding. Now they're planning their funerals. But we're finding out more evidence of this, and it's disgusting. There's actually a video being shown, and the IDF wouldn't let me release it to us because it's very graphic, of multiple shots on Sarah's back. She was shot 5 to 10 times, first in the back. Then the guy, Elias Rodriguez, he reloaded the gun. He saw her crawling. She was trying to crawl to mercy, trying to crawl to something. And he reloads the gun and continues to shoot her. And they found out that there was 26 bullets in the back of her body. Horrible, horrible. What we're also finding out is that the father of the terrorist was brought to President Trump's presidential address by a Democrat congressman from Illinois. So we're finding out that the terrorist father was a Democrat, and that a Democrat congressman brought him here. Now, Tim knows this, and Damon knows this too. When you're a congressman, you're a senator, you're allowed to bring a couple guests with you, but the guests have to be vetted. You can't just bring whoever you want. They have to be background checked and vetted. What the hell was this terrorist father, doing at the presidential address? Now, we don't know the background of the terrorist father. Maybe he's a good guy. Maybe he's not a good guy. Maybe he came here legally. Maybe he came here illegally. We don't know. But it's very disturbing. A lot of people think this was a foreshadow to what was going to happen to Yaron and Sarah. I pivot this question to you first, Tim. What do you think about this?
It was absolutely horrible. And I actually knew some people down there that actually were live streaming when they saw something was going on. They didn't know what was happening. And
I was actually invited to that event.
And it's sad to see. You got young life. You got people, regardless of whatever they believe or whatever, that were taken out because of this commie bastard that thinks that he's going to change the world or whatever because he's going to kill people he thinks are Jews. And, there's a lot of story there that we don't know completely yet. But the fact is, this stuff always happens on the left. And some may know my background's mental health. And I've always said the right thinks with logic typically, and the left thinks with emotion. And that's why you see these types of actions. You see the summer of love, apparently, which who knows what's going to happen this summer. You see these types of emotional, childlike, evil behaviors coming from people on the left. And you need to squash this stuff immediately because it's been growing and growing and festering. And if you don't, it's going to keep spilling. There's going to be innocent lives continuing to be lost. And we're going to lose the country and the soul of this nation if we don't stop this.
Damon, I pivot to you. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm very upset by it. But it's drastic times and it comes to drastic measures. I said before, Democrats, they broke that glass and they can't be unbroken. I mean, if you look at this kid's social media they uncovered, he actually said that he hated America, he hated Israel, he hated Biden, he hated Kamala, he hated Trump, he hated everything. It looks like he hated everything about life. But the more somebody that hates himself, hates their country, hates other countries, hates everything. I mean, I don't think he said anything that he liked. When you push out the propaganda that they've been pushing out in colleges and stuff like that, and lost souls like this, well, I don't even call it. He's a lost soul forever. He belongs in hell for what he did. But somebody like that is going to gravitate towards this, and they're going to look at it and they're going to say, "Oh, well, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make life better for myself or for other people. I'm going to go down in history as somebody famous and go and murder 2 innocent people and cut their life short and ruin families and friends' lives on top of that." And it's just more of people need to push forward. And when I say that it's drastic times, call for drastic measures. And I always say you can't infringe on people's rights, but at what point do you say, okay, all right, well, you guys already went this far. You pushed everything to the limit. All right, now how do we bring it back? How do we bring it back? Now, even when you look at deportation, stuff like that, I got in with somebody on Twitter today or X, and they were talking about a young girl that was being deported because of Trump, and they're blaming Trump personally. Trump is deporting this young girl, 3 years old, in a hospital, needs medical care, but it's her family, and it's not Trump personally. It's the same thing as Biden's policy of open borders. Explain that to Lake and Ryland's family and everybody else's that were affected. Now, we can't save everybody, but when you're deporting people, you have to get them out as fast as they came in. I mean, that's what we have to do. They came in too fast. We have to get them out fast. So if we have to, just overstep a little bit, and I don't know, maybe a different punishment for people like this, because they're normalizing this kind of stuff, And you look at Luigi Mangione, like he's like modern day Robin Hood, because he went and murdered somebody in cold blood on camera by himself for no reason for himself other than he's fucking crazy. But we got to stop normalizing it. And this guy thought it was going to be normal. It was the right thing to do to go and kill 2 young Jewish kids. I would say in my mind, no apparent reason. And obviously, he had his crazy reasons for it. But something has to be done, and it has to be drastic.
Seth, I'm going to pivot to you because you and I, we've done a lot of combating anti-Semitism rallies. We've done a lot of rallies to bring our hostages home, but the biggest rally has been at these colleges and universities. As you know, the rise of anti-Semitism has really risen after October 7th, and President Trump actually decided to take grant money from Harvard University and give it to trade schools. What say you about that, Seth?
I think it's a good idea. Fuck a college. I learned more from reading the comic strips now than I would from going to Harvard. So I don't give a shit about the college. Don't give a shit about people going to college. And if that offends you, email me. I'll give you my address. We can talk about it in my backyard. On As far as it goes, I want to quote something here that I think kind of sums up how I'm feeling about all this anti-Semitism. Every normal man must be tempted at times to spit on his hands, hoist the black flag, and begin slitting throats. I'm done with anti-Semitism. If you get in my face and you even begin to say the word Jew boy, I'm going to knock your fucking teeth down your throat. And I'm not going to stop till I'm pulled off you. If you are Jewish, I implore you to get a CCW, carry a gun, and be ready to put bullets in people's heads. We need to stop waiting for someone to come rescue us. We need to stop waiting for diplomacy to take over. We need to stop trying to reason with these people. Fucking kill them. They're going to do that to you. They've made that very clear now. They are going to kill you. They don't give a shit if you're a woman, if you're a man, if you're walking away, if you're not saying a word to them. They don't care. They are going to kill you. They're going to push you out of colleges you've paid to be at. They don't care. So fuck them. Don't care right back. We tried playing nice in the 30s and 40s, and what happened to us then? We lost 6 million plus because we were trying to be nice. We just wanted to get along. Someone will come save us. Stop being a coward. I hate seeing these videos of Jewish kids at colleges with these morons lined up in front of them with their kippahs on, and they're like, well, they won't let me into class. They won't let me into class. Punch them in the goddamn mouth. And don't stop. And if you go to jail, you go to jail. You get out the next day, you find that same guy, and you punch him in the fucking mouth again. Put fear in their hearts. They're trying to do that to us. Give it back to them. And if you need to get to college and you can't get in there because they're blocking your path, get a hold of me. I'll come to school with you with a Louisville Slugger, and I'll canoe goddamn heads for you. I'll get you to class, and I'll take the charge for you.
Well, Seth, I want to, sorry, finish your point, but I just wanted to make the point that there was a big story in Baltimore City. There was actually a rabbi who was attacked by two vigilantes outside of his apartment complex, but the rabbi had a gun on him. If the rabbi did not have a gun on him, the rabbi would probably be dead today. But of course, you have elected officials in Baltimore City, Jewish elected officials, so Democrats, that say, oh, Baltimore City is very safe. Everybody's moving into Baltimore City. Everybody's moving into Maryland. Yeah, Baltimore City is very, very safe, which we know is fake news. It's a faux pas. It's a lie. I attack Zeke Cohen all the time. And hashtag not my Jew, hashtag never a Jew, because he keeps lying to the constituents and lying to the people. I can't stand it. Elena, your response on this?
Guys, I grew up in a neighborhood called Canarsie in Brooklyn, and it was primarily Italian and Jewish. I never saw anti-Semitism in my life. Yeah, we would everybody would insult each other, a little bit here and there. And the Italians, we insulted each other, like I was Sicilian and, we went head to head with the Calabres, it was just like this thing that you did, but it wasn't like hardcore hatred. We looked out for each other. We hung out together. We stood up for each other, and we lived and did business together. Never in my life have I seen what I have seen in the last year and a half. And even on Twitter every day, I post a lot, whatever I post, there's like some creepy person that comes into my comments on Instagram and Twitter with like, well, you know who it is. Why don't you just finally admit it? It's the Jews. And I'm like, I don't engage with any of it. Like, you're never going to convince me to hate Jews or anybody just for who they are, natural by their physical nature. And I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of people trying to convince me to hate Jews. And I'm sick of seeing what you guys are being subjected to. And these murders last week really broke my heart. Like, as a mother, I personally, by the time I was 16 in that very neighborhood, I personally lost 4 friends and acquaintances to various murders. And like, I know what it does to a community. I've seen what it does to families, and I'm sick over it. And these are just 2 people, but I fear that they're just the beginning of something, because like everyone before me has said, they feel empowered and they feel excited about enacting vengeance on innocent people. And the evil that we're facing in this country, like on so many fronts, is both discouraging, and it puts a fire in me to want to keep fighting. And I'll say to you, Seth, like, I'm not much of a fighter, but I can clean up blood if you get into a fight,
Exactly.
I can, you know.
Yeah, we didn't have a few of this segment. I wanted to bring this up because it's important. So we have so many far right, quote, conservatives, pro-Trump people that voted for President Trump, but they're like so far right and they're so anti-Semitic, like the Stu Peers of the world and the Milo Yiannopoulos of the world and these other crazies. My question to you, Tim, how do we stop this? How do we, we're on the same page with these guys. We all voted for Trump. We all love Trump. But why are these far right-wing conservatives so anti-Semitic?
It's a good question. And it comes up. I see it too with a lot of my supporters. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are a few that will say certain things. I try to always bring it back to, look, first of all, we're Americans. We don't do those types of things. Whether you hate a group of people or not, we don't do those things. I don't have the answer for that. I just ask people to stop hating people as best they can and just try to live in peace. Yes, people are tribal and they want to live with their own people. That's fine. So, diversity is not the great thing that the left has made it, but live with who you want, be with who you want, but respect people. And in Baltimore, I talked about it before. We had Jewtown, you had Little Italy, you had Greek Town, you had all these communities and Little Germany and all that. They got along. There were peace because we respected each other's cultures and communities, and we weren't forced to have to be together, but we wanted to assimilate and become Americans together. That's the best way I know of to try and get us to move forward without the angry side of Seth, which I don't disagree with either.
Well, Seth, let's say
you can't talk to those people. I don't need to be angry, but you cannot talk to those people, as Seth said.
No, you cannot talk to them. That's the thing. I mean, you brought up the summer of love. I went through the summer of love in Philadelphia when I was trying to sell my house. And trust me, I just sent my wife and kids over to my in-laws in New Jersey at the time. So you have to crush them. You can't allow it to happen. Just what happened in Seattle. I think it was either today or yesterday. Same thing with the Christian group or religious group out there. And then they were attacked by about 20 people. And the mayor comes out and he blames them for attacking him, saying that he's biracial. No, it's not about that. Let the people do what they have to do. Have respect for them, like you said, Tim. And like you said, Seth, when they step out of line, they have to be crushed. They have to be punched in the face, and you come back again and punch them in the face again if they do it. I mean, that's all you have to do. I mean, I'll respect you until you disrespect me. And if you do that, then you're going to have a problem. And I know we got to go to the next segment, but before we go, you mentioned Harvard and trade schools. So I just wanted to say, yeah, I like that. I like the whole trade school idea. I think we have a picture to throw up on the screen real quick. There it is. We want you. I'm like Uncle Sam out there pointing. I want you. Join the trades. All right, that's good.
Is that official? Are you running for Congress again? Is that official?
Well, I'll let that simmer.
Okay. Well, Seth, what about you?
Seth,
what about you? I know that you don't let these mofos fly. I mean, the Stu Peters of the world, in my opinion, need to go to jail because they literally called for, a final resolution. And just, 5 seconds before we go into commercial. Go ahead, Seth.
Reasoning with these people is not going to work. They've made it very clear you're not going to talk to us. We feel the way we feel. Stop us. So stop them. Stop them. Bloody your hands on their face. Do what you got to do because it doesn't get better. History shows you this is not going to get better on its own. It just gets progressively worse until there's 6 million people gone. If we sit back and wait for someone to help us, help yourself. You might get arrested. You might take a charge, whatever. It's better than the alternative. It's much better than the alternative. And trust me, if you think I'm kidding, it can't happen again, talk to me in a couple of years if we let this go unchecked. We'll see where we are. And I'm telling you, it's going to be horrible in a couple of years if we don't do something about it right now and just drop the hammer on these people.
Exactly. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Okay, guys, we finished our first half. Now we're coming back to the second half. We will be right back with the Pulse.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with Alexandra Levine Live on the America's Pulse Network. You are all in with Alexandra Levine. We are still waiting for someone from the White House to come out and tell us what transpired between President Trump and Vladimir Putin on that call today. We are here live at the White House. We're waiting for White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to come out and tell us about the updates of today, the call between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, what transpired in that call.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
And yes, that's me, Alexandra Levine, the White House correspondent for this network. It is an honor and privilege to be in the White House press briefing room with Caroline Leavitt and on the White House lawn with President Trump. It is an honor. So turning to our third segment, I bring up Maryland a lot, not just because we have two guys here that live in Maryland, and I do a lot of work in Maryland, but the state of Maryland's getting a lot of buzz in the news lately. It's just something is happening in Maryland, and it's not positive. It's usually negative. So I'm going to lead this. TimFazenbaker is going to lead this segment on. So as we talked about, Congressman Glenn Ivey, he flew to El Salvador for Memorial Day weekend instead of going to Arlington National Cemetery and supporting our troops. He wanted to go over and visit the illegal MS-13 gang member Kilmar Garcia for a quote wellness check. But he was denied because he didn't get a permit from San Salvador. And he couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my God, I came all the way over here. They knew I was coming over. Oh my God. He did a whole press conference about it and, crying and all this crap. So, as I said before, Tim, you ran for Congress. What do you think about this? And also, I'll ask you a second question on this. The Congressman Glenn Ivey had the audacity to call this guy his constituent. How is an illegal MS-13 gang member his constituent? Please explain this to the crowd. Take it.
Maryland's crazy. And when the story first broke, I remember, Van Hollen comes out and he's a state senator. And I was like, who's the congressman? I'm like, oh, it's that guy nobody knows. But you know what? That district overwhelmingly voted for Glenn Ivey. So, I'm sorry that the people who didn't vote for him have to deal with this.
I can't even remember.
I don't remember either. It's Democrat district. But, so he goes down there. Well, that's what they wanted. That's what they voted for. That's a 20% issue. I don't even think it's 20%. But you know what? I don't want to pay for that. Most of us don't want to have to pay for that. But I'm glad he got shut down and said, nah, you're not coming in. Your little game doesn't matter to us. Unfortunately, Maryland is the California of the East. And it's not going to get better generally for a while, but it's happening. And then tying in with that today, it's been going viral that ICE, did some raids at a local Home Depot, not far from where I live. They've done them out in Hagerstown, which is more on the western side of the state. Mm-hmm. They're hitting these areas, and we've put this out. We know Tom Homan. We've asked to say, please help us. And look, it's a big country, so they're going everywhere. But places like outside of Baltimore and all that are now being hit. So, eventually these people are going to be gone. And, that Maryland might have a chance to be a little bit more balanced so that we don't have a Glenn Ivey or Chris Van Hollen or whatever. But when he did say that I represent Kilmar Abreu Garcia, I laughed. I was like, bullshit. You don't represent him. He's an illegal alien, whatever gangbanger this stuff is. Stop. Because you know what? His district's probably predominantly black, and he's black guy himself. I'm assuming. Can't assume race anymore, But the black community doesn't like this either. They don't want illegals coming in there. You know what? The legal Hispanics don't want this either. I've read some of the quotes today, and I try not to read too much, but a lot of the black community and the Hispanic community, the legals were like, no, get this ass out of here. We don't want this kind of stuff. So Glenn Ivey, keep doing it. Your people will still keep electing you. It doesn't matter, but you will be the minority in this country with your 20% issue, while good people like Mr. Gaudo here and maybe myself, or eventually we'll get into those higher offices and then stop people like Glenn Ivey from doing these things.
Well, I'm going to pivot to Seth because, Seth, you and we worked on Election Day in Frederick County. And as you know, in the state of Maryland, they do not require photo ID. So when Glenn Ivey says, this is my constituent, I guess he's saying that all of his constituents are illegal. So he basically admitted that illegals voted for him. What say you?
He probably did. I mean, it's Maryland. You can pretty much do anything you want to in Maryland if you're a Democrat, and it's applauded. Nothing surprising. I mean, when we talk about this, I'm trying to be genuinely surprised and shocked at what a Democrat does and says, and I can't anymore. I'm just like, meh. In the immortal words of my son, Joey Bag of Donuts is going to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it because he knows no one's going to say anything to him. This is Maryland, and nothing shocks me. It's sad to say. I wish there was still a little bit of shock in me when I hear something like that, but I'm just kind of like, well, it's just another Wednesday. There are so many idiots in Maryland that vote, and so many of the other idiots just don't care and don't educate themselves on the candidate. and they just look for the letter after the person's name. Oh, it's a D. I'm voting for. It doesn't matter what that person stands for. They vote for the D. That's why I wish they would take the D and R off the ballot. Put the person's name. That way you have to look into it. You'd have no choice but to educate yourself, and that might alleviate some of the problems.
I got one correction for you, Seth.
Yep.
It's not Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
That's how we say it in Maryland. Yeah, in Baltimore. Yeah, Wednesday. Wednesday.
Well, Elena and we are residents of the state of Florida, so we don't really, deal with a lot of this crap. Now, I saw a map recently that ICE is really doing their job in Florida because our governor, Ron DeSantis, is allowing ICE to go in and do their job. What say you about this, Elena?
Yeah, so while I was relaxing last week for a few days at the Gulf of America, my mother let me know that in her 55 and over community where they had been redoing the mini golf course, ICE came in and took the workers who were redoing the mini golf course.
Nice.
So we've got a delay on my mom's mini golf game, but we don't mind.
Wouldn't that be a bogey?
It is happening here. It's not happening fast enough, and we know that. I think they just upped the number the goal to be 3,000 a day. I mean, that's pretty. That would be pretty impressive if they could do that. When we compare it to 10 million or more, it isn't quite enough. It's a drop in the bucket, but over time it will build up, and we're going to get where we want to go. I'm constantly seeing so Maura Healy, for example, Massachusetts, where I lived for 23 years, she's freaking out because they took 40 illegals off of Martha's Vineyard, and she's having a meltdown like it's the end of the world because they really are so racist in the things that, who's going to pick the fruit, who's going to clean the houses, who's going to change the baby's diapers. Like, they actually are, they're losing their slaves. And they're freaking out. They're losing their voters. They're losing their slaves. They're losing their potential, congressional seats because they're trying to, get all these people on the census and count it. They're trying to get these people counted as citizens for representation. So it's very hard on the Democrats, and them, I do not feel bad for at all today.
Well, Damon, let's pivot to you because you're from New Jersey and you ran for Congress also. I'm sure you dealt with a lot of illegals, up in New Jersey. I'm sure you deal with them on a daily basis. What say you?
Yeah, no, definitely do. I mean, originally from Philadelphia, and New Jersey is a sanctuary state too. So that's a big topic in the gubernatorial race. They're all saying we're going to end the sanctuary state. I hope they do. I know Bill Spady will. I know Jack probably will as well if he wins the primary and wins the general. But they just have to go, like you said, down in Florida with Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is aces. He's the best governor in the country, or top three, I'd say. But he's working with ICE, and that's the way to get it done. The government needs to work together, and it's all the Democrats that are fighting, the process of getting all these illegals out that are trying to prolong it, and everyone knows why. It's for votes. It's for the census, like you said, Elena, to count them. I mean, think about it. They're cheating. They're voting. I mean, my sister did it last election. Because there's no requirement for voter ID in New Jersey, so she just went up instead of signing her name like she did every other election. When you could see her signature from all the previous ones, she just went and wrote an X, and they accepted it. Even though she was able to sign, the multiple other times she voted there, she just wrote an X and she said, "Are you serious? You're going to allow me to do that?" And she watched other people do the same thing. So it's being allowed, and we just have to keep pushing. Keep pushing. Oh, and I see something from the angry survivor that's watching. It says, "Don't get me going on Massachusetts." So I assume they're either from there or had bad experiences there.
She's there. She's stuck in the mud in Massachusetts as we speak.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time for this segment, but I just wanted to end this. Damon Stroud, if you can put up the slide of showing the ICE raid. There we go. If we can see the number. So please call that number 866-DHS2-ICE. That's 866-DHS2-ICE. I can tell you, Tim and we have called this hotline. That's one of the reasons why these illegals in Home Depot were taken out of Dundalk, Maryland, which is, near where Tim lives. And I know that Home Depot very well. There's a lot of illegals that are in the Home Depot where I live in Montgomery County. They sexually harass me. They sexually harass other women there. They're disgusting pieces of crap, and they need to go. And it was really exciting and fun to see, these illegals getting taken out of the Home Depots, and maybe they'll be taken out of the gas stations and so forth. President Trump says he wants truck drivers to start speaking English again. So it's really important that we have, again, we the people, working and not illegals. It's time to put Americans first, American kids first, as TimFazenbaker says, as he's coined the term. And we need to get our country back on track. And I'm so happy that we have President Trump in the White House with Kristi Noem, with Thomas Homan. We have an ICE and a Border Patrol that's really doing the job, and they get to do the job. That's why Thomas Homan says, I love doing my job every single day, because he's doing what he loves, and he's getting these illegals out of this country and back to their country of origin. So we're going to switch a little bit. So this is non-really political, but it can be political. Let's put up the slide. Damon Sherrod says, if you're attracted to both men and women, put up the slide, because someone from our network posted that. Yes, if you're attracted to both men or women and men, but neither of them are attracted to you, that means you are by yourself. Now, someone on this show posted that. His name is TimFazenbaker. Tim, please explain the reasoning behind you writing that on your Facebook, because it got a lot of views.
Well, if you could be anything you want now. So you can, I've seen people saying they're marrying themselves and they're marrying a tree or whatever. So it's just the idiocracy of whatever they say. And I got to say that when I see the people that comment that support this kind of stuff, I mean, it's in jest, but when they say I love my tree and I'm gonna marry a tree, they always look the same. They're unattractive, overweight, blue-haired Karens. And then there's some soy boys in there as well, too. But why? There's something about it that makes them all look alike. I'll just end it at that. I'll leave it to Seth, because he looks like he's got something good to say.
Well, I wanted to pivot just until I go to Seth. So the reason I brought this up is we had this renowned singer, Demi Lovato. She started in Disney, and she was a cute girl. I mean, she had some breaking songs. And all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, she identifies as being non-binary. But the girl just got married this past weekend to a man. So my question is to you, Seth, when she got married and like the priest or whoever was doing the ceremony said, like, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today with this man and this woman. He couldn't call her a woman because she's non-binary. So what does he call her? Does he call her a they, a them, an it? Who's the man in this marriage? Like, what the heck? So Seth, what is wrong with these people? She identifies herself as non-binary, but she's marrying a man. What say you about this?
Well, I would call her a jackass. That's just me, and that's why I'm not a priest. I think the problem with these people is mommy and daddy never told them no when they were growing up. Mommy and daddy told them that they were special. No one's like you. You can do whatever you want to do, and you'll be the best at it no matter what. You will be the best. So they grow up thinking, I can identify as an elf. Today, I'm going to be a dragon. I'm going to marry my car. I love my carpet. And no one can tell me I'm wrong, because mommy and daddy told me I'm perfect and I'm the smartest person in the world. So if you don't agree with me, you're stupid, because mommy and daddy said. The only way you can deal with these people is ignore them. Just flat out, once they start talking about what my pronouns are, you go, hey, I didn't ask about your pronouns. I don't give a shit. Don't tell me them, because I'm not asking. And then you walk away from them. Let them talk to the back ear. Hey, we need to stop entertaining stupidity in this country. We need to stop making stupid people famous in this country. We're to blame, not them. If you act like a welcome mat and someone treats you like a welcome mat, it's not their fault. It's your fault for letting it happen. When someone's stupid, just call them stupid.
So Seth, you said about marrying the carpet, but for the question everybody wants to know is, does the drapes match the carpet? That salt and pepper look,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a secret I'll take to my grave. But my question for you, Tim, is: are you not entertained?
Oh my God.
I was waiting for the gladiator.
Oh my God. Well, Damon, I'm gonna pivot to you, because you have kids, and they probably grew up with Demi Lovato, and it's really what she's doing to her. I guess her fan base is is terrible because they know her as this woman that's Demi Lovato. She was as thin as a pin. And then 5 years ago, she got fat. And then she said, I'm non-binary. So if her fans don't accept her as non-binary, are they not her fans anymore? Like, what the heck? What say you, Damon?
I don't care what her fans think of her anymore. I mean, I don't care the fact that she got fat. She changed. She's non-binary. I mean, she should be non-eating because she got fat. So
she's thin now. She's thin.
What was that?
I said she's thin now because she got married. She's in bridal mode. When you're in bridal mode, you lose a lot of weight and then you get fat again.
Well, maybe she wised up and realized nobody wants me as a fat person, so let me lose some weight and actually, do that. But my kids don't know who she is. Not at all, because they're not watching anybody like that. Because my kids are smart and they know the difference between what a man and a woman is, what a boy and a girl is. And I told them about that before when they started teaching this kind of stuff in schools. And in Jersey, called the 5756 bill, and I got ahead of it, and I told them, I gave them about a dozen words or so. I said, hey, if your teacher ever mentioned something like this word, that word, they had no idea what I was talking about at the time, but I said, you just let me know. They're like, why? Just let me know. And they have on occasion, but it wasn't even anything alarming, but it was certain trigger words, that I gave them, and they came back and said it. But now they're getting old enough to know why I told them that, and I explained it to them, and they think it's stupid, and they're young enough that they shouldn't have to know that, but it's the world that we live in. But they're smart enough to know that it's stupid and makes no sense. So that's how I raise them. I raise them just like anybody else should raise their child. Although I shouldn't have to get into that at that young of an age, but I have to at least touch on it for them so they're prepared for it when they hear something that doesn't make sense in their small little minds.
Well, Elena, I want to ask you this question. Why do we see most celebrities all of a sudden have trans children? What is that all about? Like J-Lo has a trans child. I think Ben Affleck has a trans child. Why is it this pattern now with celebrities that they all just have to have a trans child? Is that like a trend? Is that the trend with celebrity children? They all have to be a trans child? What say you, Elena?
I don't know. I can't relate to these people at all. People say, having a trans child is like having a designer handbag nowadays.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's like it's like a Fendi.
Yeah, it's a thing. But I also, think that these people are, I don't know, possessed by demons. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I think they're blackmailed. I think they're forced into doing sick things on screen and off screen. And this is part of it. They're controlled by people who, by the grace of God, we have been, the five of us have been protected from, and we're not in those circles. That's how I know there's some dark, sinister stuff going on over there in that place. I lived in LA for 1 year and I worked at ICM, one of the top 3 talent agencies.
Yep.
And massive stars were there. And I was like an assistant to like the lowest agent in the lowest department. I like hung out with the mailroom guys because I was nobody, right? And thank God I was there for 1 year and I couldn't get out of there fast enough. The day my lease was up, I was like, I am out of here, buy job, buy everything, buy this horrible town. There's something dark that goes on there in that industry. That is my explanation, which is abstract for why they all have these trans kids and why they've allowed their children to be medicalized and freaked in the mind. And it is extremely sad. Look at Megan Fox. Doesn't she have like 3 trans daughters, 3 little boys that she adopted that she turned into girls? That's not coincidence. Remember when J-Lo was standing in front of that microphone, like stumping for Kamala, and she looked like she had a gun to her head? Right? It's a similar situation to that. Make your kid trans, or we're going to tell everybody what you did. Make your kid trans, or you're never going to work in this town again. And they care so much, they're so obsessed with fame and money that they'll do anything, including sacrifice their children.
I'm glad you brought up J-Lo because she just did a whole concert where she's kissing her male dancers and then she's tonguing her female dancers.
You're somebody's mother. What are you doing, J-Lo?
Exactly. And she's got twins. One of her twin was a girl, now is becoming a boy. It's insane, the whole thing. Tim, I take it up to you because you have 4 children. How do you teach them about, what's going on with the transgender situation with young kids and celebrities that your children, may support and look at?
I remember my oldest boy came to me one day. We were sitting in the kitchen. He said, "Hey, Dad, did you have any trans people in school when you grew up?" I was like, "What?" I'm like, "No, where did that come from?" And that's when I started to realize that it was it was a trend that's being pushed, and it does come from people saying it's the thing, it's the cool thing, because that stuff didn't happen. And I'm old, but it didn't happen when we were there. Yeah, people cross-dressed and all that stuff, but that's what it is. I'll end it with this: Hollywood and the press, outside of the evilness, they look at everything as we got to get attention. We got to find ways to get you back into the media. And they'll find stupid things like this. And it goes along with the Democrat Party when they pay $20 million to study how to get a podcaster who can relate to men. And they find some crazy woman who has nothing to understand about men. So we're pointing at Damon Galdo.
Well, no, I see. Jen keeps posting all the time.
Well, I wanted. No, Jen's great. But before we end this segment, there is a video from, speaking of Hollywood, from movie Police Academy. And I want you guys to really look at this clip. It's a very small clip of the movie from the first Police Academy. Damon Sharp, please play the clip.
Oh, well, that's more like it, Mahoney. Good man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the clip was a little cut off on my end. So the clip shows Steve Guttenberg. He's kissing Kim Cattrall, but she's wearing, her hair is all covered up with her hat. And the sergeant's like, good God, man, stop kissing the man that you're working with. And then Kim Cattrall turns over and it's like, oh, it's a woman. Oh, thank God. Baruch Hashem, thank God. Okay. Keep going, keep kissing her. We're seeing that a lot, especially in Hollywood, but even in real life, in the dating scene now. Women have to ask, men, are you really a man? Are you a woman? And then there's men out there that dress in drag that are turning into women, but they still have like their Adam's apple. It's very tough nowadays in the dating scene to figure out if that person is a man or if that person is a woman. And then if you don't accept them for transitioning or whatever, it's like, what say you? It's a very weird society right now. It's a very hard society right now. Elena, what say you about that?
I'm glad I'm not 20 years old or in college or dating and, having some girl who does a good job looking like a boy try to date me and trick me because I'd end up in jail. I mean, and that did happen in the past. And, I actually worked with a guy at a restaurant way back when, and some dude in a dress tricked him into taking him home, got home, found out that it was a dude, and he beat the ever-loving crap out of him. And my coworker ended up in jail when I see it as self-defense from a rape. What do I say? It's bonkers. And I think I was talking to a young man over the weekend who just said it's hard to find a young woman. And I said, dude, your last and only option is start going to church. You got a shot in hell of finding a good wife in church. Everywhere else you're done. Forget it.
And Tim, you're seeing like a lot of drag shows happening in middle schools, near you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have a school that does a lot of this art stuff, supposedly, and they push the drag stuff, and some of the teachers are involved. And the community has kind of said, "Hey, what's going on?" The school system said they're going to allow it, and it's just insane. It's just, and Elena's right. In the past, and I'll say today still. You do that to a guy, you got a good chance that you're not coming out alive. You're going to chop a dick off of me if you go home with a guy acting like you're a girl. I mean, Damon Galdo was in gay porn, so he might know a little bit more about this. So I refer to him.
Well, I was just going to say, I didn't interject. I didn't just talk about this. Now, I always told my wife, there's two main reasons why I would never cheat on her. One is love. One is fear. Now, I don't know which one holds more weight. I said, but now you just added a third reason why I'll never cheat on my wife, because if I get caught cheating with a tranny, then yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So yeah.
Wait, will your wife shove you like Macron's wife?
Yeah, well, more than shove. Yeah, I'd be more than that. She wouldn't stop. She wouldn't care if the cameras were there or not. She wouldn't smile. I would just keep going. So that's how she is. That's why I love her. But yeah, they just had the third reason why I would never cheat on my wife. So.
Well, Seth, that they were trying to push, transgenders in the military. They wanted us, the taxpayers, to pay for transgender surgeries in the military. What say you about that?
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Let's go.
Bring out the F words. Let's bring it.
When I was in, there were gay people in the military. I was in there, and that was fine. Everybody knew, and it wasn't so much don't ask, don't tell. We just didn't care. I don't care where you holster your gun at night. I don't care. Never have, never will. But the problem now is, like you were saying, well, now you got to pay for my sex change. The shit I do.
That's right.
No, I don't. I mean, I have a hard time making my car payment. You going to pay my car payment for me too? I mean, where does it stop? Where do we stop helping people that really don't need help? It's more of a want than a need. You want to become a woman? Do it yourself. You want to become a man? Do it yourself. Don't depend on taxpayers. Don't join the military solely because, hey, I can whack off my junk. They're going to pay for it. I can go from Steve to Stacy, and then I can still get paid for it. No, the military is not about that. The military used to be very prestigious. You join the military for one reason and one reason only. I'm going to serve my country. However that ends up, that's what I'm going to do. Now it's, I want to become a woman. I can't afford it, so I'm going to stick it to the taxpayer. I'm going to go join the military because they're going to cover it. It's got to, like I said, we got to stop helping stupid people be stupid in this country. We need to have a bar. No matter how low it is or how high it is, there has to be a bar of what's acceptable and what's not. And then we need to stick to it. If it offends you, get over it, princess. I don't know what to tell you. This is how life is. Safe spaces, want to become a woman, join the military, get it done. No, that's not how it works. Mom and dad, like I said earlier, should have told you no at least once or twice in your life. Then you wouldn't be here. So I don't agree with the transgender stuff going in the middle. You know what? I don't agree with it because that's a sign of a mental illness. And I wouldn't feel comfortable in a combat zone on a ship with somebody who's got a mental illness. I don't know when they're going to break or what they're going to do or how they're going to react. I wouldn't feel comfortable. Don't get me wrong. Gay people, homosexuals are fine. I have homosexuals in my family and I love them. They're, as far on the scale of insanity, they're very low. Transgenders are like way, I can't reach high enough to show where they're at.
That's less than 1% of this country.
They're crazy. Yeah. And I wouldn't feel comfortable in a place where I got to put my life in their hands because something might happen. I need you to protect me, so I trust you with my life. I wouldn't trust them. They don't even know who they are. They can't accept who they are.
Go ahead. So before we get, I just have one question. It's just one question. It's 2 to the married men and then 2 to our guests that have been married. I haven't been married. So, okay, watching Macron's wife, shove his or her husband. Let me question to you, Damon Galdo, first. Is that considered play fighting in a marriage? Is that considered play fighting? I want to know. Go, Damon.
No, it's not. I think it would have been much worse if she wasn't 20 years or 30 years older than him. She was his school teacher, I believe.
And there's speculation she is a man.
Yeah, and I think her daughter was in the same class as him as well, which is another thing to look at. But yeah, I think it would have been much harder if she had the strength. But I think she's just too old, and she's French too. So.
Yeah. So, Tim, is that considered like a new form of foreplay in a marriage?
No, I mean, I wear a shirt around the community that says my wife beats me, so I'm used to it. So, but I do got to say, if you're trans, if you're a woman and you want to get an addictomy operation, man, just get it on your own dime.
Exactly. That's it. Seth, what about you? I mean, when you were married, I mean, did your wife ever shove your face? Was that considered play fighting in your household?
Hell, when I was dating, if you do that, we're going to have to be leaving the party early because it's going to lead to something else. That's fine with me. You want to smack it up, flip it, rub it down. We can do that. I'm good.
Oh my God. You didn't.
And, Elena, I know this is personal. When you were married, if your husband said something a little bit about your shirt or your hair, were you like, honey?
Smush? No. No. I mean, it's one thing to punch somebody in the shoulder or give them but they were in public. His face showed very clearly that there was nothing playful going on there. He was embarrassed.
Mush in the face is bad.
Yeah. I'm thinking that he said to her, honey, your penis is showing. And that's why she shoved him. Or he said to her, honey, we need to fix your wig. Your wig is coming off. Like I said, there is speculation this woman is a man. I think they are considered the Obamas of France. So we'll find out at her next prostate exam. So we'll find out. Everybody, don't forget to check your prostate, get that colonoscopy. Don't forget.
Those are fun.
Anyway, this has been a great hour, guys. Again, we are The Pulse. Don't forget to follow us at America's Pulse Network on X, America's Pulse Network on YouTube, America's Pulse Network. We are on Facebook. We're getting on Facebook and America's Pulse Network now on Truth Social. And don't forget to follow everybody on this network. Don't forget to follow Elena Barbara. Don't forget to follow TimFazenbaker on X. Don't forget to follow Damon Galdo on X at the Jersey Shirt. And of course, our Sailor Man, Popeye. Seth on the Conservative Corner on X as well and on Facebook. And again, everyone, we are the Pulse of America. We believe in God, country, and America first. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country, America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.